You don't need AI to write the blueprint for a successful horror franchise. You just need to do exactly what Damien Leone did, except better. Hi, my name is Courtney. You can call me Courts. I work in film and I post content about it. Today I am yapping about the Terrifier franchise and unpacking exactly how Damien Leone stripped down his slasher villain and turned him into a modern day Michael Myers. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. It's free, it's the best way that you can support a small creator like myself. That's your sign. Shoot your shot, like and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get into how Art the Clown was transformed from indie slasher to horror icon. Considering Terrifier 2 and 3 are the only ones in the franchise to secure a theatrical release, these ultra low budget indies have done so well. Combined, the total box office haul has surpassed $60 million. In order for us to gain an understanding of how an indie feature with a budget of only $35,000 evolved into a successful trilogy, with the most recent installment having a budget of $2 million, which is still considered indie as we talked about in my last video, we need to start by diving into the lore of the leading man himself, Art the Clown. So Art the Clown made his debut in the 2008 short film, The Ninth Circle, which was created by our guy, writer-director Damien Leone. The film follows a woman innocently waiting for a train where she meets Art the Clown. Unsettled by the mute clown, she fails in evading him and ends up syringed and kidnapped, only to be tormented and sacrificed by an underground demonic cult. The Ninth Circle, referencing Dante's Inferno, later serves as the first entry in the 2013 film All Hallows Eve. Maybe Art the Clown and Longlegs should consider a collab. I think that would actually be pretty iconic. Since we're talking horror icons. Check out my video on Longlegs if you haven't seen it. It's in that video that we go into depth in The Ninth Circle and Dante's Inferno a bit more, so if you're curious, definitely give it a watch. All Hallows Eve was Damien Leone's first feature film. The movie follows a babysitter on Halloween who discovers 3 mystery VHS tapes in the kids' candy bags, and naturally she watches them and then strange things begin to occur around the house. Sound familiar? Does it sound familiar? Maybe, I don't know.
Babysitting on Halloween night? That's just asking for trouble.
These 3 VHS tapes contain 2 of Damien Leone's short films, one of them being The Ninth Circle and the other being the Terrifier short film, which came out in 2011. Essentially, Leone uses 2 of his previous short films to cultivate his first feature film into an anthology. The 3rd tape contains an additional short film that was made specifically for All Hallows Eve. It is up until this point that Art the Clown was played by a friend of director Damien Leone, Mike Gianelli, who Damien describes as a good sport who would sit in the makeup chair for hours. Having not been an actor himself, Gianelli was happy to pass on the role for the following Terrifier films. When David Howard Thornton took the role as Terrifier, he brought Art to a whole new life, which he often does anyway when he regenerates. But we'll get to that. All Hallows Eve mainly serves as context for the Terrifier's supernatural power, but also as a way to test his compatibility with horror audiences. With that, they were finally able to craft a story around Art the Clown, and Terrifier was officially born in 2016 with his own title feature. These movies have elements of extreme gore. The series is known for being one of the most shocking in the slasher genre, with over-the-top kills and a delightfully dark comedic undertone. It's quickly established that Art the Clown hates women. After seeing Terrifier though, I wasn't fully set on following up with the rest of the movies, Terrifier 2 and 3. Despite my love for practical effects, it's one of my favorite things about filmmaking. It's one of the reasons why I love horror so much. Like, the gorier, the better. I am here for it. I am sat. But I'm quite certain that Damien Leone used most of the $35,000 budget for Terrifier just for the kills. Terrifier 3 is on its way to becoming the top grossing unrated film of all time. With a $2 million budget and raking in $40 million at the box office, compared to the original, that stands as one of the most significant increases in any franchise, regardless of genre. Movies like this tend to do really well during times of social and economic turmoil. For the sake of spoiling the entire franchise here, we're just gonna focus on Art's story specifically. He was designed, as many of you may know, to be the complete opposite of Pennywise. So he's black and white, he lacks any color, even hair, he has no hair, and he lacks even a voice. Much like a familiar guy that we might know already, maybe. Damien Leone describes trying to create the perfect horror icon and shooting for anything that would stick. Demons, monsters, witches, until he finally landed on a clown. We get so few details as to who or what Art is under the mask and makeup. Art reveals his name to us with his signature move, signing his name in his own excrement, usually on a bathroom wall or mirror. We can assume that he has supernatural abilities by the way he regenerates. Similar to the OG Michael Myers, but we're getting there. Somehow these villains keep returning from normally lethal blows, presumably through the power of paranormal forces. So let's go back to the Ninth Circle for a second. It isn't clear if Art worships the devil or if he's simply an anarchist who thrives on terrorizing his victims. I'm leaning towards that. He hasn't participated in any occult activities since the Ninth Circle, but perhaps that's how he got his regenerative supernatural abilities. In Terrifier, he does a number on two innocent girls trying to get home after a night of partying on Halloween, slicing one of them in half, from bottom to top. Disturbing for those of us with female parts. It's the stunts like these that has audiences creating kill counts for the franchise. But it's also the dark humor that David Howard Thornton brought to the character that has audiences eagerly awaiting on Terrifier, more Terrifier movies. If Damien Leone hadn't taken to writing more meaningful stories in the films that followed, I probably wouldn't be here making this video. I left mostly disturbed by the fact that mostly women are terrorized in this movie in gruesome ways that just gave me the ick. You know, if you're gonna cut a woman in half from bottom to top, at least give me some meaningful story. I don't know, maybe that's the whole point. Maybe I'm supposed to be like, oh yeah, that's the real fear in life, is men trying to cut me in half. I digress. Even though the original Terrifier had subtle nods to the original feature film All Hallows Eve, opening with a retro TV and playing a tape of one of his victims using a grainy filter to allude to those VHS tapes for the duration of the movie, it still lacked a bit of substance. Besides a cute get ready with me at the beginning of the film, we don't really learn a lot about Art or his backstory.
Where you came from and who you are, and so that's going to be interesting to learn a little bit more there.
Maybe a little. We don't want to push it
Just
too
a
far.
little.
We don't want to ruin the mystique of the character.
He is a sadist that can regenerate and recover from lethal injury, which isn't anything new when it comes to slasher screen stars. This is intentional though. Horror filmmakers know that you cannot ruin the mystique of a character with too many details. So it's best to say less and keep the audience guessing. Let the audience fill in the blanks. It isn't until Terrifier 2 where Damien Leone intentionally uses Art the Clown as a generic vehicle to tell a more meaningful story, with a female heroine, much like the icon himself. Let's talk about the similarities between Michael Myers and Art the Clown. Both are exclusively active on Halloween, although this theory could be shattered now that we have Terrifier 3, which takes place over Christmas. This isn't exclusive to these two though, because as we know, Jason Voorhees also being associated with a specific date, Friday the 13th, proving that this aspect of our slasher formula truly does work. Both debut films take place on Halloween though, and involve harassing a babysitter. They both involve a mystical killer that drives the story forward, propelling audiences into a world where we can root for the characters that pursue a greater cause. In Terrifier 2, we're introduced to Sienna, played by Lauren Lavera, our heroine, who fights for her life, but also the life of her younger brother. So I suppose you could say that the first film touches on this theme a little, but we don't really see it as prevalently as we do in the following films. Damien Leone took notes from John Carpenter, leaving out details surrounding Art the Clown as a way to set up for the longevity of the franchise. When you leave room to fill in the blanks, you open a world of opportunity for future stories, for future storytelling, for future filmmaking. So if you aren't caught up, get out ye old notepad and quill. Go back to your favorite slasher movies. Take the notes on the pattern. There's so much to be said about a successful horror franchise, but in this case, we're talking specifically about slashers. Just do exactly what's already been done. Create the icon, add details to the story, but as little as possible, and come up with meaningful storytelling that makes audiences want to keep watching your movie. Like, we all want to go back and watch Jamie Lee Curtis fight Michael Myers. Two things work in slashers: a scary icon with a little bit of information and a meaningful driven story, and one bad bitch. That's all it takes. I really just wanted to sit down and talk a little bit about Terrifier because I just watched it for Halloween this year to see how no one really cared about it a few years ago, and all of a sudden we have two new movies with theatrical releases and animatronics at Spirit Halloween of Art the Clown. And I personally love Art. I love that he isn't as stoic as Michael Myers. And I think that the dark comedy he brings to the films is probably why I will continue watching. Thank you to you for sitting down and watching this video. I hope that you learned a little bit of something. I hope that you had fun, and I hope that you have a very spooky Halloween, and stay safe, because you never know who's lurking out there. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. It really does help me out. I am so close to being monetized. Okay, I love you so much. Stay spooky. Bye.